Tottenham. Should we get into those, Sam?
Yeah, let's get into them.
Worst run in the Premier League since 2008. No wins, just 1 point picked up in the last 7 games. But it is business as usual for Ange Postecoglou, with unity across the club the message. Let's discuss Spurs' current form then. Given Tottenham's current league position, historically, is Postecoglou lucky to still be there if we look back through time?
Well, I don't think Tottenham Hotspur have ever been this low before. This is their league position after 23 games in the Premier League history. Look, you can see 15th. It's the lowest they've been since 1998. And it's incredible that actually in that season, 1998, they signed Jurgen Klinsmann to actually help them stay in the Premier League. And it's an interesting context now with Spurs. We know they're looking for a new forward in the final days of the window. So can they find their Klinsmann? It's actually probably in more recent history the lowest they've been since around about here, 2008-2009 season. It's quite interesting. Juan de Ramos was the manager who started that season at Spurs. He was the last Tottenham Hotspur manager to deliver a trophy, but then he also took them into the bottom half. It's incredible the parallels you see with Ange Postecoglou's Spurs at the moment, but look at the drop that there's been. They were 5th at this point last season. Now they're 15th. And yeah, it's an incredible drop, and Spurs actually picked up more points than in the opening 10 games of last season than they have in the first 23 of this season. It's a staggering run of form.
Oof. And they have been on a real torrid run since the start of December. Is that backed up by the stats, Sam?
Well, we know Spurs like to attack. We know they like to score goals. But the problem is they're too defensively open. This is the expected goals conceded since the start of December. This is the highest in the Premier League since then. And look at the teams that they're around. Southampton, Ipswich, Leicester. We're talking relegation teams. It's relegation form. And the other reason is they're just too clumsy with the ball. There are far too many errors at Spurs at the moment, and it's resulted in this high XG conceded. But you can see errors leading to shots, the most out of any Premier League team, not looking after the ball well enough in the dangerous areas. Errors leading to a shot or a goal, second bottom, only Southampton have more. Also, only Southampton have more dispossessions of the ball, so they're not keeping that ball well enough. And as a result, they're dropping points from winning positions, the most out of any team since the start of December. They only dropped 5 points from winning positions before the start of December. But in the past nearly 2 months, they've dropped nearly over 3 times as much. And as a result, again, only Southampton have picked up fewer points than Spurs in the Premier League since the start of December. So we're talking about, Tottenham's fall down the Premier League table. It's relegation form. I think there's no doubt about it.
But are there mitigating circumstances, and are they real? Because this has coincided with Tottenham's injuries.
Yeah, as you can see, they've had the most Premier League injuries at the moment. So this graphic reflects the amount of players currently out injured. When you have 12 players out, it's a whole team. Of course, it's going to have an impact as well, and it has been damaging to Ange Postecoglou's season. But again, you sort of have to ask the question, did Spurs have that big 6, top 6 squad available to them, or were they still reliant on the likes of Christian Romero, on Mickey van de Ven? And when those players get injured, do they have enough in reserve? I think those are the questions that you have to ask not only Ange Postecoglou, but Daniel Levy as well.
Yeah. Detractors would say Bournemouth, 9.
Yeah.
The second highest, and look what they're doing.
But they have the squad. That's the key difference. They have players like Dango Utara who can come in. Ange Postecoglou here doesn't have those options available.
Yeah, OK, what I heard you say is this is relegation form. And therefore, if I was a Tottenham fan, should I be worried that relegation is a serious possibility here, or is that just ridiculous?
I mean, it would be one of the stories of the Premier League era, wouldn't it, if Tottenham were? I think it's really unlikely. We have spoken in the past about teams being too good to go down. For example, we spoke about that with Leicester a couple of seasons ago when they had James Maddison and Yuri Tielemans, and they said, well, of course they're not going to go down with those players. But I think the big sort of thing with Spurs is the next games, the next sort of 8 to 10 games are going to be really, really crucial for Ange Postecoglou. Even Thursday's game at home to Elfsborg is quite big, because if they win that, they're in the top 8 of the Europa League. They will skip the Europa League playoff round and go straight into the last 16 in March. Again, this squad with so many injuries, it needs a break. It needs a few midweeks off to get players back. But then after that, Brentford away, we know how a difficult contest that is at the GTEC. Then they've got the big 72 hours of cup action. Liverpool away, winning 1-0 in the Carabao Cup semi-final, and then Aston Villa away in the FA Cup 4th round. Ange Postecoglou obviously says, I always win things in my second year. Well, that's going to be the 3-day period that's going to decide that one. Manchester United at home. After that, it's the battle of the two underachievers, you could say. And then an interesting one, Ipswich away. If they lose that one, and it is possible because Ipswich did win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium earlier in the season, will Spurs definitely then be in a relegation battle? And then obviously Man City at home is never an easy game. And then Bournemouth at home, battle of the injury-hit teams, but one team's dealing with it better at the moment, and also Bournemouth, as we've said, are the form team in the Premier League at the moment. So really, really interesting run of games coming up for Tottenham, which will decide their season, but also might decide the future of this man here, Ange Postecoglou.